Hello and welcome to a mini session of Pass the Torch, Legacies in Jewelry, where it's just you guys and myself. My name is Nadja de Savandist. I am a young bench jeweler and I am looking to carve out a defined career for myself. And I don't know exactly what shape or form it will take yet, but I am hoping to arm myself with a deluge of skill sets that allow me to be impactful in the jewelry world. I want to create meaningful and creative and thoughtful pieces, as well as build a community along the way. So I have something coming up that I'm really looking forward to, and I thought that I would share it here, as I so often do. I am going to be traveling from Colorado, where I am based, to Tomales, California, to visit and partake in a design workshop with Alan Revere. Alan was on the podcast a few weeks ago, and in that process invited me to join him in his design intensive workshop. And the reason I was so intrigued to pursue this opportunity was because we don't actually touch jewelry. It's going to be a very theory-heavy class, and I believe I'm one of 6 students, and I was excited to take this on at the earlier stages of my career because I am still discovering my voice, and I am still discovering what it is that I consider to be stylistically my hand. And of course, that will develop and change as time goes on. But I think, I'm searching for a bit of refinement before I really start to put out pieces for the consumer market. I want the pieces that I create to be incredibly well balanced and thoughtful, and I have had the blessing and the opportunity to be exposed to really high, fine quality jewelry and high quality design early on in my career. When I, 6 years ago now, joined a repair shop, I was there for maybe six to 9 months. I can't remember exactly. And then I got catapulted into high, fine jewelry as a salesperson. And I was at a shop that really valued design-centric jewelry. It wasn't just mass production with minimalism in mind. It was thoughtful, hand-fabricated, well-made pieces of fine art jewelry. And to that shop's credit, that formed so much of my value system and how I would like to proceed in my career moving forward. That's how I know that high quality artistic jewelry can also be hand fabricated, because I've seen it. It doesn't have to be made in a computer. It doesn't have to be casted. It can be created by hand, completely one of a kind. I know that is possible. I want to go out there and try to achieve it. And so, in my own right. And so I'm looking forward to this class. I'm bringing out watercolors and some pen and paper and a pencil. And that's it. It's not going to be a technical class. It is going to be a theory class. And it's something that I think will inform the next several years, if not the entirety of the rest of my career in jewelry. And I want to be challenged in that capacity. I think what's really cool about this is we kind of operate as a panel in this class. The 6 of us, offer critique, collaboration, and insight into each other's designs, whether it be color theory or proportion and geometry. All of that is vital to creating good jewelry. And when you see it, and it's right, you don't notice it because form follows function. But when it's wrong, it's so evident and obvious, to me at least. And so this is going to be an opportunity for me to level up. I know so many people have been asking to see my jewelry. and I haven't shown anybody anything yet. I have specifically, deliberately kept my pieces offline, and I can tell that I'm nearing the time when that is no longer appropriate. I need to start putting myself out there, and I need to start putting my work out there. And that's been something that I've been incredibly timid to do. And so it's time. And so this is kind of my last benchmark to go through before I say, okay, I have what I need in my own mind, the checklist that I made in my own mind before I start putting my own work out there. I want this opportunity to receive refinement in my theory, my design theory. And then the pieces I create after this will go on to the interwebs. So follow along with me this week as I go out there and join this process and share my thoughts along the way. It's going to be really, really fun. So it's the night before I head out for my trip, and I'm packing, and I spoke to Alan about what he expected us to bring, and he basically said anything that made us feel creative, any materials that we would like to work with. I love painting, and so I have packed my extensive watercolor set, as well as my cab stencils, actually. So I invested in these laser cut stencils that I will trace into and cut stone from, because they're super, the hard metal. These aren't like flimsy stencils. These are solid, and they're very accurate and exact. And so they weren't cheap either. They were actually kind of expensive. They were not cheap. And so I'm bringing my stencil collection, because now as a jeweler, I have a stencil collection for my cabbing machine. I'm bringing paper, mixed media toned paper, as well as some really beautiful, like, handmade paper that I collected last time I was in California. Just these little palm size sheets. Each one was handmade, and so if I have something that I really love, I save that, like, nice paper for when I want to make something more permanent or more serious. And so here's my watercolor set. This is also a really nice watercolor set from Fine Tech. They do all the metallics, so all these really nice metallic colors in watercolor. I'm also bringing out all my brushes and my journal. It's going to be a really good time. I'm hoping that this feels like a spark for me. I think, I've just seen so many designs, great designs, right? But I haven't really ever siloed myself to ask myself, what do I want my design to look like? What's important for me to say? And that may not necessarily get figured out in this weekend, but what is important for me to prioritize is the geometry of good design and the proportion of good design. And if I can also go into color theory this weekend, that would be an added bonus. So those are kind of the three things that are at the forefront of my mind that I'm hoping to get out of this experience. And I think I'm more nervous for this, not because it's an intimidating class, but because I think I'm genuinely putting a lot of pressure on myself to make this a turning point for myself, if that makes sense. So I hope it works. When I arrived in Tomales, it was really evident that this was one of the most beautiful places I have ever been and ever will be. It's Northern California, a couple hours even further north than San Francisco. Here are a million hummingbirds that Alan has on his property. We were sitting in his sunroom, and we got to look at them for this entire workshop, as well as so many cattle and horses, and it was just beautiful. But we arrived and Alan opened up the workshop by giving us a tour of his studio. If you're just listening to this and you're not watching it, that's okay. Listen anyways because it's fun, and then the visuals will be available on my Instagram.
These are prints from the Diderot Encyclopedia of the Trades and Industry that were created in the 1750s. These are originals.
Oh, wow.
Each one is about a different trade, like there's pill making, belt making, armament making, and these are the ones for goldsmithing. And if you look, I mean, my bench looks like that. My tools look like this, my graver. I have one of these right here, you'll see it.
Right.
It's a what?
It's the kind, like you might use it to start a fire, this kind of thing. This is how I learned to set stones.
Archimedes drill?
Yeah, a bow drill, Archimedes drill. And you wind it up. This is how I learned to set the seats. We didn't have flex shafts. There was one flex shaft in the room, and it was on wheels, so you didn't really get to use it. So this is how I learned. I have a lot of old tools. I have some interesting tools, like this is a horn hammer. Then I could press this in, and it would leave a notch. One way to cut the seat in a prong, and so you can decide, you know, how.
And then they're all the same.
And then that makes them all the same.
Wow.
To use this. Come on, step in all the way.
Did you put up first?
I have all my files up there. Everything's designated, like white is square, and red is round. Turquoise is
Whoops.
I apologize if that was loud in your headphones. It was just a funny little bobble and I felt like keeping it in. So I hope you don't mind. Here is a look at the studio setup. Again, this was in his sunroom, so everyone had their designated spot. We were given double-sided tinfoil, so half was gold, half was silver. Colored pencils, a fidget spinner, and here's me showing off the jewelry I made out of the tinfoil, which was one of our assignments. And again, then we got into really sketching and rendering jewelry. It was fun to take a look at shapes and then talk about how the light hits them and what is the most effective way to portray lighting and geometry within a certain design panel. So we had a bunch of cool moments where we just all got to be together and listen to fun music, and then also collaborate and get feedback from each other on our various individual projects. And it was really fun. Alan is just such a funny guy. He's so charismatic, and he led the class very well. It was very well paced, and here he is. Just what a gentleman. What a fun chap. There's a group of us here at the beach collecting rocks and shells. It's really cold out, but it's actually kind of lovely because it's cold. And I guess we're collecting items that we're going to use tomorrow in our workshop. I don't know what for yet, but I know that we wouldn't be doing it if it weren't important. Okay, so that trip definitely had a purpose. We ended up sketching nature-inspired pieces the following day, and then Alan showed us a lot of his own jewelry that he had.
This is one that has movement, just a little frame, and when one wears it, you hear it.
Okay, so it is day 2 of the design class with Alan Revere. And last night I got back to my hotel and we had the homework assignment to create a pendant only using circles, triangles, and squares. And I personally don't like those shapes together because I don't think that they complement each other. So this actually was quite a stretch for me. And I especially find that when I like to design, I like to use shapes consistently, like I like repetitive pattern. And in this, we weren't necessarily allowed to do that. So what I have enjoyed about this class thus far is he's given us a lot of practicing, or how do I say this? He's given us a lot of exercises to expand your design mind. And so I feel like the biggest thing that I'm getting out of this class right now is that I will never hit like a writer's block or a creative block, because I have tools in my toolkit now that help me get out of that stuck place based on the exercises that we've done so far. So the exercises allow me to stretch my brain in a way that I probably otherwise wouldn't have known to do. I created this pendant last night based on this little square piece of osmium that I have that the Institute sent me, which was very, very generous of them. And so I'm going to be creating a piece around it. And I put it in, you know, it's got this like really grayish tone to it. And I wasn't loving anything that I set it, you know, my original thought was to set it in 22 karat gold. And I actually decided that I didn't like that. I didn't like that color palette. So when designing, you can kind of do whatever you want. And I thought, wow, it would be really cool if I could put it next to some Paribas, because it's almost like a bluish gray color, the osmium. And so I went ahead and I painted out these two Paribas, and then I put, so it has the square and the triangles and the circles, and so that's what I'm delivering to Alan this morning, along with a couple of sketches of earrings. So I was actually pretty happy about that, because I feel like that's actually a design from this design class that I want to go home and make and bring into existence. My thought process was that now I would set it in platinum or palladium and then have some patinaed silver accents. So I'm excited about that. I hope to see it come to life, and I will touch base halfway through later today. So when I got to class, everyone took turns putting their work up on the board in front of everyone for everyone to see and for everyone to critique. And so I'm going to let you guys listen in to my critique that I received, that I had permission to record. And I even had a moment of respectful, loving disagreement with Alan, which you'll hear in just a moment.
A very nice hand. Oh yeah. And we have this. This is from.
Yeah. This correlates to the eye, so it's.
Oh, okay.
This side.
A little hard to see. Oh, okay. I was getting. It's iridescent.
Ah.
And so I was catching an angle where the light didn't show it.
So is that supposed to be gold?
Yeah.
So, okay. So, how does that ruby get to that ruby?
It was in conversation with the tinfoil piece that I did on my ear. In theory, I just wanted to continue that, and so there would be a wire behind the ear that you can't see.
Yeah, I have a pair of earrings with a wire.
And drops a little ruby right up here on the top.
It's a fine wire, platinum wire or gold wire.
So this would be a stud?
Yeah.
And from the back of the stud you would have a
You would have the wire come up.
That's creative.
That's cool.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
A bit small for me.
That is so lovely.
I tend to go.
It's great. Really nice. Really nice. A lot of work. I like the
Beautiful.
presentation on the paper.
I do too.
What I would say is make it easier to read and larger. This is actually a small ear. On all of these things, it's better to make it 50% larger for rings and small earrings. Just draw them larger, even though you could make them, any size. And I mean the whole drawing larger, and maybe the piece larger too. It's very nice. And then here we have, What's that?
This is probably the first one, and this is the second
Oh,
one. I
okay.
should have flipped them. But
And what is this? Where does this come from?
that was from our triangle, circle,
Square.
project.
Great. This is nice, lovely. Do you do drawings for customers?
I do actually, yes.
Okay. And so you sit down.
Can we see that one close?
Yes.
Because it's a bit small.
So I want to ask you a couple of questions because
Yeah. I do always try to draw to scale.
Hold on a second. How many of you have ever sat behind a counter selling jewelry?
Nah.
No?
Yeah.
Okay. But a lot of people haven't. So this person has done it a lot. And so I'm going to ask her a few questions about it, about the interface between you and the customer. And so it's a whole skill set. It's a different skill set dealing with customers, as you know. What if for somebody who's never done it, what do you think, briefly, what is the most important concept about sitting down with somebody?
Oh, honestly, if I may respectfully disagree with you.
Yeah, sure.
It's to draw to scale.
To draw to scale, right.
Yeah, when things are
Because
blown up too big, clients get
Of course.
confused.
And you're right. And I would say for our purposes, you can draw it larger because it's easier to read.
Right.
But if you're sitting down with a customer, you've got to draw it to scale because that's what they're going to expect.
Right.
Right. Otherwise they say, oh, that stone's so small. It wasn't like that on the drawing.
Do you draw for customers?
I have drawn for customers.
And do you draw for customers?
No, at this point.
Okay.
Next week.
I
sketched, but it's not like that.
I'm not surprised.
Beautiful.
I really didn't do very much of that.
So this center stone here is supposed to be this.
Oh.
And then I wanted them to be Pariba tourmaline.
Well, and so
traditions
can
on
I
the
just
sides.
ask about the medium? So is that watercolor and then like silver Sharpie?
No, it's also watercolor. So there's a
It's metallic.
It's metallic watercolor. I think it's a brand called Trideck or something, and they are really great. I have a little pan, but each pan is about $20.
Okay.
And I've got about 6 of them of different metallics.
Okay.
Got it. Thank you.
It certainly is effective.
And this would cost like
illustration.
$15,000.
If they were Paribas, yes.
Okay. Just saying.
Pariba and the metal.
Exactly.
And it would be a combination of platinum and silver.
Yeah.
Great, excellent.
And then after we had that critique, we got back to the drawing board and we did a couple more exercises. I won't go into too much detail because, again, I want people to go and take this class from Alan. I don't want to just give all of his secrets away here, but it was actually so much fun. I think I had the most fun on the second half of the second day. I think people had gotten comfortable and their creativity was flowing, if you will. And so we sketched again, and then I did a pencil rendering, and then we got critique for the final time, and then that was it. That was the wrap of the class. It was really, really special. It was an overall good group, and I really enjoyed getting to know Alan a little bit better in this particular type of setting. It was a very intimate experience with everyone there, and I felt really lucky to have been able to participate. Okay, so I am back in my studio. It has been a few weeks since the Alan Revere workshop that I attended in Tomales, California, and I just wanted to wrap up with a few final thoughts now that I've had time to both process the information that I received in the workshop and also have time to work in my shop and see any differences in the influence as to what I gleaned from the experience. So I think that there were two really significant points that I will continue to take with me. One is that I now have a small body of work. You know, part of the workshop was really focusing on rendering and rendering well. And I now have a series of sketches, and also I brought my watercolors out with me to the workshop. And so I have these really beautifully done watercolors that I spent a lot of time on. And I also showed them to the group, and I received feedback on them, both positive and negative, and I was able to absorb that really well. And so that was a gift. And I am proud to continue to use that small body of work as a catalyst for what is to come, especially in my just colored pencils. I didn't realize how much I really actually just enjoyed colored pencils. Colored pencils was not a medium that I have been using in my life thus far. I really, in my younger years, have worked a lot in acrylic paint, and watercolor was a fairly new thing for me earlier this year, but colored pencils is just so brand new. And it was actually really fun to come up with these ideas for these pieces and then sketch them out and then fill them with color via watercolor, or sorry, sketch them out and then fill them with color via colored pencil. So that was really great. I felt like something unlocked in my brain, and a level of new potential unlocked in my brain. And the thing that I think I walked away with the most substantial element from the class that made the class really worth it to me was the ability to move forward. The class was unlike some other design conversations that I've had with other artists. Some artists really focus on color theory. A lot of other artists focus on shape and balance. And while that was definitely part of it, I think what I gleaned the most from the class was certain exercises in creativity that are seemingly disconnected from the final product, but actually are ways to lead you to certain creativity. So I can't go into the details of that necessarily, because you would have to take the class to get that information. I don't want to, dissolve all of Alan's hard work that he's done and just spoil the class for everybody. But I think what he was able to lead us through were certain exercises that allowed our brains to start to turn and our creativity to be stretched. And so we did these really simple practices, little sketches, take a certain limited amount of shapes and then do them in 100 different ways in a very limited amount of time. It was just really cool how little exercises like that led to something much bigger. And that's what ultimately the crux of what I'm getting to, is that it was a really great exercise in being able to advance something from its genesis, from a simple idea, into a well-rounded, well thought out, complex, finished product. And so I'm very grateful to Alan for giving me that. I thought the class was fantastic. The people were totally different than me, and that was also a really, really great opportunity for me. A lot of them had, all of them had jewelry experience. All of them were jewelers. So it was nice to be in a class with other really well-rounded jewelers, and I felt like my experience was different than theirs. Some were manufacturers, some were hobbyists, some owned schools, jewelry schools, and they were coming to learn from Alan. And so, all of that is different than what I do. And so it was great to be in a room with people who were different than me, but yet all still connected via the love of jewelry. And it was interesting to hear from them what they were going to take away from the class, because I think everyone took away something a little bit different. So ultimately, the class was absolutely worth it. I enjoyed getting to know Alan better and see him in a very, personal space. It was hosted at his home. And so seeing his personal workshop and being in his sunroom where we had the class, it was just gorgeous. It was a beautiful place. It's somewhere that I otherwise would have never gone. And I really appreciated the opportunity to have such a intimate look into his whole world and his points of creativity. And so that was awesome. And I think back on it now, here and there, little clips come back, and in moments where I'm being creative and working on my design, and they always will. So thanks for listening to this episode of Pass the Torch, Legacies in Jewelry. It's a little bit of a different one, but I hope you enjoyed it nonetheless. I am learning in this process, and I'm sharing it with everyone as it unfolds. This podcast is also a bit of a video diary for me, and I hope to look back on it one day and be grateful that I created it, because I want to reflect on how far I've come. So thank you, Alan, and everyone else who was a part of that workshop. You made it so special. And if anyone would like to sign up for his next one, you can add him on Facebook, and he posts there when he plans to have and host those workshops. So you can get in touch with him via that platform. So have a wonderful rest of your week. I apologize I haven't had a few episodes up recently. I have lots of them recorded, I just haven't edited them yet, and with the holidays approaching and deadlines looming, we'll see how many I'm able to get out. If you have pre-recorded with me and you're expecting your episode to come out, it might be early next year. It might be season 2. So thank you, everyone. Have a beautiful rest of your day. It's an honor to be here, and it's an honor to do this. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak and have any remnants of a voice in this space. I appreciate it. Cheers.